That's how you build adaptations. So this is More Than Muscle, and today we're going to dive deeper into why generic advice doesn't work. Because a lot of the time you might go and see a gym or a personal trainer and they're just going to give you this generic plan, or maybe you chat GPT it, or maybe you Google it, or whatever it is, and you get a generic plan. That leads to generic failures. And what I mean by that is that you go and try something and it doesn't work, right? You go under maybe a calorie restriction that you call a deficit, or you go and eat certain foods because someone showed you that that's the foods that you should eat. And then weeks go by and nothing changes. And that's because what you've done is you've gone and grabbed a cookie cutter copy and paste method and then expected a copy and paste result from something that you've seen. The reason why this doesn't work is because it doesn't factor in what you actually need. So today I want to help you understand what that's going to look like. So when it comes to understanding nutrition, the very first thing that you want to ask yourself is what does my day-to-day look like? As in, how much energy am I expending? If you are someone that is sedentary, you don't actually move too much throughout the day. Maybe you do a walk every day that's 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, and then you go to the gym for an hour. If you think about it, you actually aren't moving too much. Now, what you are doing though is you're using your brain for maybe your job. So we have to think about that and take that into account. However, your body isn't actually moving. So at the end of the day, energy in and energy out is really what is very important. So if your energy expenditure, as in what you are doing throughout the day, is going to be very low, then you don't actually need a lot of food. Now, if it's higher because you train really hard, you move around a lot, and you're constantly on the go, that's going to be a very different approach. So the reason why I want to say this is because we will look for something that is more cookie cutter, but yet doesn't actually look at our life, our day-to-day, and then apply what we need for ourselves. So the reason why I want to share this is because when we're trying to get a plan, looking at your day-to-day helps you understand how much your body needs as a baseline. And that's going to come down into the form of calories. So let's say that you go and get a body scan, and in the body scan, it says to you, your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, is about 1,300, 1,400, 1,500, whatever the number is. That's essentially telling you this is how much you need to eat just to do your day, without the training attached to it, without all of the extra stuff that you need to do. This is just your baseline. And so now that you know your baseline, you can then go, okay, this is where I can add more, because you don't ever want to eat your baseline, because your baseline is going to be too low. And if you don't eat enough, then you can bet that you're probably not going to change your plateau. Your body doesn't need too low of a calorie count. It's not beneficial. It doesn't help you. I don't care whoever is out there saying it. It's very rarely going to work, especially if you kind of eat either your baseline or below. Because most of the time we do more energy expenditure above our baseline. I'll give you an example. So let's say that you have a 1,400 calorie BMR, and then you do an hour workout a day that yields you maybe 300 calories. And then you do a walk as well that maybe yields you another 150 calories. Then you move around throughout the day, you drive around, you have maybe like some responsibilities that you have to take care of, and that yields you maybe another 100 calories. Then you have seen now that you've got the 300 plus 150 plus 100, then you've done at least a little like 450 calories more, 500 calories more. So then you've got your 1,400, bump it up to 1,900. Now that's your actual what you need to eat to maintain. So then what you can do is you might have the goal, well, I want to drop some body fat. So you bring that calorie count down just a little bit. 200 or 300 calories is a great deficit. It doesn't need to be significant or severe. Then you're going to break that down into macros. Now, the best macro split, I don't know if there is a best, but the ones that are always going to be very beneficial is a 40% carbs, 30% fat, 30% protein. Now, that is the very first macro breakdown that you can try. After you have done that, you're then going to reevaluate by getting another scan and then reevaluate your macros again at least 4, 6, or 8 weeks later. So then you might move then to something, so let's say like a 35 35% is going to be carbs, 35% is going to be protein, and 30% is going to be fat. So then you move from that 40-30-30 to a 35-35-30. Very rarely do we need to have a high fat. It doesn't really, it's not sustainable. Two, it's not good for you, especially unless you are very educated and you understand it and you know how to get really clear-cut, clean sources. I wouldn't recommend it. So after you've done that, you might go, okay, I've done this now for a while. I'm going to reevaluate again. And then you might move to a 40-40-20. Now, this is more so, I would say, dedicated to the athlete, where they do 40% carbs, 40% protein, and 20% fat. So if someone is, doing a lot of high intensity, they actually train a good amount, that macro split is going to be more so directed towards that person. Now, I have always done, personally, a higher carb, moderate protein, and low fat split for myself. It works really well. I can maintain my body at that point. I don't have to bounce around from different splits. I don't have to do too much changes. It just works really well. However, I have done the 40-30-30. I have done the 35-35-30, but I find that the 40-40-20 has always been the most beneficial. So now that you have like an overall calorie count and you understand how to do that, and then you do the macro split, now the next step, which is the very, very important step that most people miss, is what makes up this macro or these calories. Most of the time people do the if it fits your macros, and that, let's be real, is complete bullshit, because you have to have some level of nutrient density, okay? You can't call a chocolate chip bar that meets your macros the same as a piece of fruit that meets your macros. It's just not the same. And so you don't want to fall for that. So I'm going to encourage you to go and have nutrient dense. That just means that there's more vitamins and minerals in the foods that you're choosing. Because if you go and get a protein bar, it's going to be very different to you eating a piece of steak, some fish, some chicken, very different. And very different nutrients goes into that. Plus, there's no additives and preservatives in one of those protein sources versus a protein bar, which is just filled with all that stuff. So if you want to get better with your nutrition, the best way to do it is by single ingredient foods. Now, many people out there don't realize what a single ingredient food is, okay? It's very, very simple. Fruit is single ingredient. Vegetables, single ingredient. Protein sources like chicken, steak, fish, single ingredient, right? You don't want to bounce around where it gets too complicated, because then you're complicating your process. Now, from a digestion standpoint, our body loves simple. It really does. It's just that our brain doesn't. So if you're someone that wants to constantly feed your mood, you're going to want to make your food exciting. If you're someone that wants to fuel your body, you're going to want to feed your body what it needs for the energy expenditure, as well as your goals, and as well as you just feeling better. And there's a big difference between both of those, because too many people want to feed their mood too much, right? They're tired, they're sleepy, they want variety, maybe they're bored in life and they just want to create some excitement. That's not how you want to treat food. Food is not entertainment. Food is not fun, right? It is truly there to help you nourish yourself. But people get caught up into the whole space of, I just need to be exciting. I need variety. No, you don't, because variety is what got you where you're at. If you truly needed variety, then you would probably go and create variety in your training, right? Maybe you would go and train slightly differently and you create some different levels and intensities and volumes. That's where your variety can come into play. It does not need to come into play when it comes to your nutrition. So you got to tackle this in a manner that makes sense for you. So when we backtrack and we recap here, get your overall calories, get the macro split, maybe try all three of those and see which one feels the best for you. You can try one day at one, or maybe 2 days. Then you can try a different day and a different day, and then see which one do you feel like you've got the most energy. It feels like it aligns with you. It's easy to hit it. You're not kind of overly complicating it, and you're able to actually make it happen. Now, how long, right? That's the biggest question. How long do you need to stay at these amounts, whether it's going to be the macros or the calories? Well, you should be doing a body scan at least every, like I said, 4, 6, 8 weeks, right? Some people spread it out longer, but I'm not going to lie to you. If you spread it out longer, you better be pretty damn consistent. So if you get a body scan and you don't do the next one till 12 weeks, then ensure that you are staying on track. You're not changing your nutrition, because your nutrition should change as your body changes. So most of the time what I find is that People will do their first body scan with me. 4 or 5 weeks later, they'll get their second scan. And when they get their second scan, their body fat has dropped, their muscle mass has increased. And what I find with them is that they then they have improved, right? Like they're leaner, they're fitter, they've got more energy, and they start to go, I'm getting hungrier. Now, the reason why they're getting hungrier is because their body is in a better state. So if your body's in a better state, then it's going to expend more energy, which means you need more food. Even if the goal is to continue to drop body fat, you still need more food to fuel you, even though you're on the route of dropping body fat. Now, that may feel confusing to you because most of the time we're told, well, as I'm losing weight, don't I need to continue eating less to lose even more weight? Well, no. The answer is no. You actually need to start eating more, which is actually contradictory to what most people will tell you, but that's because they think that that's the easy route. They think that that's the right route, but most of the time that's where plateaus happen. Because if you're trying to fuel yourself and your body is improving on a week-by-week basis, then it's extremely important that you stay on the plan. And I can't stress how much that you need to understand that more food is actually a good thing as you're getting leaner, stronger, fitter, better, right? So wrap your head around that, because at the end of the day, if you keep dropping more and more food, you're going to end up being left with nothing. Let's say you dropped, 5% body fat. What are you going to eat? A lot less, like 200 calories less than where your basal is? That's not going to work for you. So it's really important that you understand the value of why do you need these splits? Why do you need these macro adjustments? Because people don't adjust. I've had some people that have been on the same macro split for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and their body hasn't changed. It's pretty simple. If you don't make changes, don't expect anything to change. You have to make adjustments. Just like you would adjust how much weight is on the bar for you to get stronger, the same thing. Now, a lot of the time people do not adjust enough, right? They don't do any kind of changes. Every week you should be aiming for just a little bit better and a little bit more. Whether it's in the gym, you want to go a little faster on the treadmill or in your runs, you maybe want to kind of like change the weight on the bar and make it a little bit heavier, even if it's by a couple of pounds. It doesn't matter, but that's how you build adaptations. The body loves to be adaptable, but if you don't do anything to adapt, then you're going to stay stagnant. You can't keep lifting the same weights, just like you can't keep hitting the same macros. It's very simple, but you are overcomplicating it. So make it very, very much a adaptability standpoint. So change it up on a weekly, change it up on a monthly, and make these micro adjustments to lead to macro results. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. Please go and apply this, execute on it. Make sure that you are taking action, not just listening, because everything you want is on the other side of fear. So make a move, take action, because you're one decision away from a completely different life.